If I held your convictions and were possessed of your arrogance, I might be tempted to lift Filato first and ask questions afterwards. Don't. If you do anything to prejudice these talks, nothing will save you.
Understood, sir.
And don't count on the fact that Wellingham was once your father-in-law. He's also a passionate believer in salt. So he'd be very unhappy to be stabbed in the back by you.
I'm surprised you're not sitting in the corner in your ring shirt.
In that case, there's no requirement to involve me, sir. Well, if it is just an indiscretion on Tyler's part, I'll turn a blind eye. But if you're going to assassinate without approval...
To save the service?
Oh, even so. There's no point in us both going to the wall.
No, but I did authorize 2 air tickets to Malta. I mean, sooner or later, you'll have to endorse those.
Could be weeks before I see the next travel return. What I'm saying is, if you can deal with it quietly, one way or another, I'll sign the return, that'll be an end of it.
But?
If it goes wrong, this conversation never took place.
Understood, sir.
Oh, and Neil. Don't lie to me in future.
I didn't want to involve you, sir. Which is what you want.
That doesn't affect the principle of the thing. I've a right to know what's going on.
Yes, sir. I don't know, some people have all the luck.
Of jumping should be all the persuasion I'd need.
Which could be why she's here. Well, we'll see. At the moment, the only jumping he looks like doing is on top of her.
Don't. I have a vivid imagination and a weak heart.
I'll just be thankful he's still here. If he jumped while you were on your way to London, it would have been a coronary.
Bernie was spot checking him.
That's about as much use as going through his luggage for Berlin travel brochures.
Very simple, us station folk.
All right. It would help if we could hear what they were saying, wouldn't it? You haven't got one of those directional listening devices, have you?
Oh, we have. Some rubbish. It's okay for passing jumbo jets and earthquakes. Useless for conversations.
We had one at field school. I was trying to detect a conversation and almost got killed by a passing juggernaut, which I didn't hear.
Why is all our equipment so useless?
Because we haven't got any money to buy decent stuff.
Well, we dare not risk getting too close.
Sunday morning, welcome to Physics 9-6 times. This will not be a lecture on physics per se, although physics comes into it naturally. It's more a look at the world of applied electronics. Is it relevant to Physics 9-6 times? Shall I attempt to make it so? And you get a walkabout my private little space. Oh, look here. Lots of stuff going on there. What's that? Always good to have something to carry, a good liquid beverage around. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? There we go. And focus. That's pretty. But a diversion. As we proceed to the business at hand. Okay, let's get up close and personal with this here. What is this? Huh? What have we here? It's a multitude of things. This here is an FM front end, but it does not have a first intermediate frequency stage. It's just a front end. And next to it over here is another front end. It's an AM FM front end. See right there, it's covered up by the vernier dial. But underneath there is basically this, but it has the first intermediate frequency stage. Now in behind there, if you can see, I'm not showing it very well, that in behind the front end, that you can't really get a good glimpse at, you can see the detector transformer there. Okay, that is the intermediate frequency stage. This over here is a multiplex adapter. This is all for the FM radio, but this also contains an AM radio, obvious because it has this, a bar antenna. What is the bar antenna? Therefore, the AM tuner needs it. Okay, what else is happening? Well, tuning meter. It's both for AM and FM, and this front panel here is a blank slate at the moment. A lot of work yet to be done. That there, that hole, there will be another, that there is part number 2 on this unit here, which shall go installed after modification in the space down there. And it will have to be made to fit. So there's a bit of work involved. But that there is a complete amplifier out of the Scotty. And just give me a moment. What's the gist of it? Okay, so I've got this circuit here, and that is a complete phono and tone stage. But in terms of this unit here, it's actually going to go underneath. And that there is that there. So there's going to be an additional control over there. This will extend, and there will be controls across here corresponding to those controls there. Okay, so that's out of the way. And in case you are curious, I have a large assortment of H.H. Scott circuit boards. This is the intermediate frequency strip, the late generation, corresponding intermediate frequency strip, just one generation prior to that, 3 multiplex adapters stacked up, 2 generations of multiplex adapters here, first generation high end, second generation they ran out of integrated circuits, a couple of driver boards, a phono preamp, and a power supply. Okay. Why have I talked about that? Okay. Let me get back to this unit here. There's more to the story. A lot more. Let's get up close and personal with what's going on back here. This is all yet to be assembled, by the way. It's really just roughed up. And there are going to be a whole host of other things going on back here, but you'll notice those are output transformers for what must be a tube audio amplifier. And indeed, that's what we're looking at here. Right along there is a combination of 3 intermediate frequency cans and 3 vacuum tubes, a 12AX7 and 2 EL95s. So this thing is, in addition to being a tuner, a power amplifier, a tube power amplifier, but also a complete solid-state power amplifier, and the tube amplifier and the solid-state amplifier both put out about 2.5 watts per channel into, well, the tube amp puts out the load into 5 ohms, the solid-state puts it out into a nominal impedance of 8 ohms. Tube amplifier is single-ended, solid-state amplifier is quasi-complementary. Okay, so why have both? Why not? I'll tell you the story of this machine and its complexities, but in brief, it's special. It will be able to support this monolithic beast, the 310DR, which does not have a multiplex adapter, but when this thing is all done, it will support it. It will use the multiplex adapter in this unit because I believe in super connectivity. Right on. Okay, cooking with gas, and bear with me. Why am I talking about all of this? What does this have to do with anything? Well, recently I posted a video that I had recorded of a band called the Pseuds. This is back in August of 1981, the Social Dissonance gig, and I mentioned in the notes to the video that there was a tape glitch that I'd cut out. Well, I cut it out in editing, but I was sloppy. I should have done a better job, but it doesn't matter. It would have been fakery, no matter what I had done. This is what was on the tape as it was being recorded. It's on the tape. That is the tape. And actually, that's the tape recorder that I used to play back when I made the video. I just used this little mono machine. Purportedly, it was recorded on a mono deck, a Sony TC-110. As I explained in the liner notes, the YouTube description, but is that actually the story? Okay, here's the story. And yeah, there is a story to why that happened to the tape while it was being recorded. The TC-110 was something that I borrowed from Bob Deltradici. Back when I was a creative arts student, this would have been in the autumn of 1980. So I'm 18, bit of a renegade, disliked for good reasons. That's a story for another day. But in my hands, as I slowly creep into view, a TC-110, which I take home with me instead of returning to Vanier College Equipment Repository where it belonged. And I took it apart and looked at it and studied it and thought, this is a really nice piece of engineering work. This TC-110 is a beauty, but I'm curious. It just so happens that I have, well, first of all, I have a 5-pin DIN jack and a bunch of 5-pin DIN field coils that I'm experimenting with in radio work. But these are low frequency, these are audio related field coils, to be certain. And they're all within a specific range because of some kind of work that I'm doing on the side, sort of, hush hush, wibble wibble. I was an experimenter from a young age in electronics, man. I was hardcore. At the age of 18, yeah, really hardcore actually. So I got this TC-110 and I've got these field coils and I'm thinking, what can I do? Because alongside the TC-110, I've got this Iowa top-of-the-line cassette deck that I bought 3 years previous at a very good price. It came with a warranty, but I soon discovered why it came at a very good price. It had a threshold noise around minus 30 dB, and this was an intermittent noise, and it was caused by an LED that would go on and off that would show that the tape was running. And this LED was creating this little noise at minus 30 dB. No one would notice but me. So it was unacceptable, and I sent it back for repair. Sent back, no problem found. Yeah, right. And bit the bullet and lived with it for a few years, and in the end, by the time it's 3 years later, and I'm thinking, this Iowa, I've got my money's worth out of it, and I've started to take it apart and get it to turn it into something else, because it's a very useful tool. It's got separate mic and line inputs, it's got separate record outputs, so you've got 3 separate level controls here. A beautiful interface. It's a high-end piece of equipment, so I did something with it. But there were leftovers, including a tape head, the Iowa, very high-quality glass and cobalt tape head, stereo, of course, which I think, this will go nicely with the TC-110, but why bother connecting a stereo head up in a mono machine? That seems like a waste. What can I do? And I'm looking at these field coils. Hey, presto bingo, maybe I could fit it in. There's a plan here, and it is as follows. This is what the plan is. Incorporate these field coils, stick it somewhere in the circuit, don't disrupt the mono circuit too much, but do something after it comes out of the tape preamp, sending the signal to the tape head, stick in something there that takes that monophonic signal, throws it into a field coil, and then out of the field coil comes a phased signal, because the field coil is center tap, so the signal, the mono signal goes into center tap, and you've got the 2 outline taps on the coil, and those are what will become your makeup feeds for stereo. And I ran these through a Cascode circuit, very compact, got it to fit in, ran it off of the existing Sony power supply, and got it to work by introducing a manual record playback switch. So this was a severely modified machine by the following day. But what it had was this little field coil that was taking the monophonic signal, converting it into a kind of phased signal, and recording it into the 2 tracks onto the tape. So it's a monophonic tape recorder, but it's recording a rather complicated signal onto the tape that I intend to exploit later on. The only caveat in use being, it's only me who understands how this machine works. It's got an extra switch hidden in the back, and it's also got this 5-pin DIN jack mounted right on the side that this coil plugs into. The cause of the noise that you heard on that tape that I had to cut out, that was the coil being disrupted, and everything's gone haywire in the circuit. And that's why so I had to cut it out. Therein lies the story of an 18-year-old electronics tyco. I don't know how to describe myself. In terms of my knowledge of electronics in those days, I was prodigious. Caligula. By the way, I do hope you like the Claudius look that I'm going for. That is to say, Claudius says, do not hold it against me if I have a speech impediment. Please listen to the content of the words that I speak, and do not focus on the manner in which I deliver the speech. I am focusing very hard on this task of communicating, as it is my due as your emperor. Thus saith. Okay, enough of physics 9.6. I gotta wrap this up. Applied physics? It's gotta be in there somewhere. This is, electronics, right? Okay, and I promise you, I've got a bang of a story about biology, chemistry, which is really physics, and genealogy, genetics, and genetic sexual attraction, animal husbandry. That's the next script on physics 9.6 times, but this is more of a sandbaggers type thing. Like that machine got sandbagged when it was in there in the facility doing the recording, and it wasn't me. I don't know how it happened, because that field coil plugged into that machine and it was a sturdy connection. I mean, you couldn't exactly just kind of jostle it, and no way it would lose contact. It's like someone had to kind of, what's this, pull it, put it back in place, and that's how that happened. That's how I figure it happened, because I wasn't there to see it. All I know is on the bloody tape, and I'm like, furious when I hear it. How did that happen? You can imagine I was curious at the time. So, it doesn't matter. It's just, it's there. There's no way to get rid of it. And therein lies the tale of physics 9.6 times. Hope you enjoyed the Sandbaggers intro. Lousy equipment. Sure, why not?